Per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. It's Wednesday. Let's take a look at some altcoins. Got a lot of tabs, as you can see here at the top. Don't freak out, as my organic chemistry professor used to say. Most of these towards the back end will go fairly quick. As far as Bitcoin goes, again, you still need an opinion here. Are you bullish, bearish, anxious, nervous? Just on price. Most people could care less about direction for Bitcoin. They're busy. They're deep in the DOGE, dog, cat, whatever meme coins. All that stuff remains fun and loud right now because Bitcoin has largely held sideways here. So to me, it looks like we want to just keep going. You know, this looks like very strong continuation vibes here on the weekly. So we'll see what happens over the next 2-3 weeks. Anything past the 618 there at 48.6, and we are in uncharted territory in a pre-halving year. Halving is in April. ETF announcement likely coming in January. And I can't tell you the number of people who are still so focused on other ETFs. Oh, it's going to be ETH. ETH is going to be next. That may be true, but the flows that we're going to see on the ETH ETF are going to be next to nothing, most likely compared to the Bitcoin ETF. And I think the Bitcoin ETF flows will disappoint initially. It takes time to get people to the finish line here. So it's not like we're unlikely to see billions and billions of dollars on the first day. At least I don't think so. I'll be happy if we do, but I don't think we will. We're going to see a crazy volatile day when the announcement hits. Anything is possible, honestly. You could tell me anything and I'd say, yeah, sure. So we'll talk about that more when we're closer to that day. But so far so good on Bitcoin. You can say overbought, you can say overextended, but the chart still says, looks like we go higher, and that's good news for alts. On the USD pair, total 3, USD pairs broadly for alts, total 3 still looks good. Still looks like a weekly edge to edge. I would not expect this to act like the Bitcoin edge to edge, where it just literally in 8 weeks, there it was, right? I would expect this to take probably the entire year, at least to October is my guess. I think that's a reasonable expectation. I think it's also a reasonable expectation that total 3 does hit this edge to edge move. Some of these charts, Solana, AVAX, already well on their way to hitting those levels on the flat Kumo there. But I would be very patient with a lot of these coins. I wouldn't necessarily over rotate if you're one of these anxious FOMO people. Have some conviction in something that has a pulse. If I'm looking at your chart at the end of the video and it doesn't look good, that's a sign, okay? Most of the action is going to come the beginning and middle of the charts in this video. Anyway, this looks fine though, right? There's nothing really to do here. And broadly, there's nothing to do across the board. Dominance still looks fine. Dominance likely to continue to dominate. I don't know what to tell people. Again, selectively, some alts will do very well, as is clearly been happening. Broadly, you're not outperforming BTC. Broadly. It's hard to see that because the meme coins have done well, obviously. But broadly, this is saying, look, Bitcoin is the place to be. And you can look at that a different way in the alt Bitcoin pair index, whatever you want to think of that as. We're consolidating, sure, I'll give you that. This may morph into some sort of inverted head and shoulders. I'll give you that. But it still looks like this wants to head lower. Maybe total 3 is a better chart, total 3 relative to BTC, because ETH BTC has just been on a train to nowheresville. I almost forgot to include it in this video. I'm not even kidding. It just there's nothing going on. Stablecoin prints broadly have kind of flattened out. Interesting that once CZ got taken in by the feds, the federales, the USDC drain kind of stopped. Something interesting to think about. If we look at the week over week change in USDC, we have seen, I guess this is day over day, we have seen some inflows there. So this appears to have stabilized in the moment. Is it a coincidence that CZ is probably locked up in an Airbnb somewhere? Probably not. TVL across the board. I'm not a big TVL fan. I know a lot of people use TVL with some success. I think if you're looking at TVL broadly, you have to look at TVL in coin terms, not in USD terms, because if you're on a chain that's already appreciating in price, Of course, TVL is going to look like it's going up when in actuality, no one's actually doing anything, right? This is far from a perfect metric, but it's something interesting to watch, especially at a time right now where we have a very big laggard ETH with leaders in Solana and AVAX. So broadly, TVL in USD terms has bounced a little bit from those lows, right? Not much, but a little bit. And if we go chain by chain here quickly, ETH, to me, this tells the entire story. TVL in ETH terms has continued to decline. We have not seen people throwing ETH into DeFi. This may have bottomed, is maybe bottoming, but I'm not seeing people use their ETH to do anything. That's a problem for ETH. It's not a problem for Solana, where clearly we have TVL rising in Solana terms, which means we're seeing people throw Solana into the ecosystem. Now, admittedly, it's far from where it was in 2022, but it's not going down. It doesn't look like ETH. And there's, to me, a clear black and white difference here between what's going on in ETH and Solana. Avalanche a bit curious because their TVL is declining in AVAX terms, but yet price is still rising. So is that some sort of divergence? Is that meme coins? I don't know. Are meme coins just too powerful for people to play around with DeFi? Are the transaction fees too much? I don't know. DeFi Llama collectively, though, is an excellent resource at digging deep onto these chains. I mean, just look at these AVAX fees, right? If we go in USD, absolutely wild. So clearly someone's doing something on that chain. You know, if we just tick back to Solana, not all the metrics on here are accurate or reported accurately, so you just got to keep that in mind. But again, to just answer the basic question, are people doing anything on this chain? Anything you're investigating, right? I would argue you almost always want to see fees rising in aggregate, just blindly. Okay, so ETH fees are coming up slowly here in USD terms as well. So that's good. Again, I would consider this a bullish divergence for ETH. People are spending money, you're just not seeing it in price yet. So I don't think ETH is completely dead, but it clearly has plenty of competition. All right, let's get into the charts. ETH, I don't have anything to say. This has been the same chart for, I don't know, a year at this point, maybe over a year. I mean, back here we were talking about inverted head and shoulders. You can see it there. That played out. There was an inverted head and shoulders down here. That played out. Since then, it's just been all about the ascending triangle, the weekly edge to edge. Looks fine. There's just a ton of selling pressure with all these bankrupt companies selling their ETH, and we're seeing that in price. So yeah, I like 3K in 2024. There's a huge, brave prediction there. ETH BTC, on the other hand, doesn't look so hot. You know, it made a new multi-week low on its way to making a multi-year low here pretty soon. This shouldn't surprise anybody. I mean, look, the flows just aren't there for ETH right now relative to BTC. You are starting to get a bull div forming here. It hasn't confirmed yet, because if this continues to go lower, RSI can continue to go lower. So we're getting closer, but this could take another 20 weeks. Okay, so I wouldn't assume anything here. One thing to watch for on the ETF announcement day on the ETH BTC chart, do we get a wick down to 0.04 or less? You're not going to see that show up on RSI because RSI is based on the closes, but it's going to be interesting if we wick down that far and then spend the next 6 months like filling in the wick, right? Just something to think about, like true horror for ETH BTC. BNB is another one I just don't care about anymore. I don't look at it. I don't trade it, but I know some people do. Will be interesting if this thing survives. The CZ drama does have a inverted head and shoulders here on even the higher time frames. It's got an inverted head and shoulders kind of zoomed in. So it looks like it wants to bottom, and it looks like it wants to go up. I mean, FTX is still, what? It's definitely in the top 100, or FTT. I don't think it's quite in the top 50, but it's up there. Doge top 10, by the way. You know, I don't know if that's a sign for something, but it should be. BNB BTC looks extremely oversold, but based on news and regulatory problems, you know, this makes sense to me. It's something to watch, probably something to put an alert on if you're trading it. But the real reason, okay, here's a confession. The real reason I talk about alts is to get people to realize most of the time you're just losing money not trading Bitcoin. And this is a great example. Down only since mid-2022. Congrats. Sol, USD on the left, BTC on the right. Most of these charts on the left are going to be the 8-hour time frame. I think that's really captured the trend. I mean, just look at this beautiful textbook breakout, Kijun bounce, holding the cloud, TK cross recross, double Kijun bounce here, which I ignored to my own detriment, and it still looks very strong. It still looks like it wants continuation. You're just probably hoping for not a rising wedge here. BTC on the weekly, Sol BTC on the weekly, looks fine. I mean, what do you do with this, right? What do you do with this on the left on Sol USD? I don't think there's anything to do. Again, I know there are a lot of people like freaking out. I don't think there's anything to do. Until we lose the 8-hour cloud, what do you want to do? What do you just want to take profit every $5 up? I mean, you can. The weekly Sol level is like 140, right? So I just don't think there's any rush to do anything on charts that look like Sol. Charts that look like ADA, where there's some ambiguity here. Is this an inverted head and shoulders? Is this an equilateral triangle? I would lean head and shoulders, which is a bearish reversal. I would take heed on the BTC pair hitting the weekly Kijun, getting ready to hit the weekly cloud. I would suspect this starts to slow down up here, just based on how this looks. I mean, it should either be obvious, or when you have to think about it, it's like, okay, yeah, that probably slows down. Again, AVAX looks really good ever since the breakout on the 8-hour. Is it overbought? Sure, all these coins are overbought. I mean, look at the weekly on AVAX BTC. Super early on getting into that cloud. But both of these look good. Is this an ascending triangle? Maybe. Could this morph into a head and shoulders? It could, but I think there's clearly a bullish bias on anything that has the ability to make or create a meme coin. Doge, on the other hand, maybe falling wedge. Again, it's not obviously bullish relative to Solana, AVAX. Doge BTC belongs sub 100 sats. I would love to see that. I don't think we will, but I'd love to see that. Again, mega oversold here with this. Look at this TKC clamp, right? Some of these alts, these older ones, especially stuff like this, they love to just grind you out for months and then have a day or a week where they just gain it all back, right? So I think that's something we could see on charts that look like this with like Doge, right? This could spend another 3 months just holding this sideways level, and then post Bitcoin halving or whenever just pop to like 450 sats, and then that's it, right? That's the move. You missed it. It's a bull trap. And then it continues its descent back to 200 sats. Dot kind of looks like ADA, right? Is this a head and shoulders? Is this a triangle of some kind? The 8-hour cloud still likes it, but it's dot. You know, dot BTC looks fine. Oversold still. But when I'm looking at a relative pair trade like that, I tend to focus on the fundamentals a little bit. And if I'm looking at the dot issuance versus the BTC issuance, and if I'm looking at the ecosystem of dot, to me, it makes sense that this is continuing to sell off. So I wouldn't jump in here, but I think if this continues to flatten out like Doge may, yeah, I like a mean reversion attempt, a mini one to the weekly Kijun. USD side looks fine for continuation. Link, again, it should be obvious, you know, boom, boom, boom. When you pull up this chart, what are the first 2 seconds? You realize it's in the cloud. It's not as bullish as the other stuff. So I wouldn't expect this to magically continue. It needs to get back above 15, 16. Link, kind of like ETH. I think there's a lot of bankruptcy stuff with companies selling Link that still needs to get figured out. On the BTC pair, massive Adam and Eve. This probably morphs into some sort of triple bottom over the next 6 months. So you have to ask yourself, do you want to sit in that and hope that it's a triple bottom? Assume it's a triple bottom, or, you know, jump in and out. That's up to you. MATIC, you know, when I pulled this one up, it kind of took my breath away on the BTC pair because it had looked decently ready for some sort of recovery, but it just couldn't hold those levels. And it made a new, what is this, multi-year low, right? I mean, this is where ETH BTC is headed. It's headed in just this continuous descent. So that's not a good sign. Yes, it's oversold. Yes, it has a TKC clamp, but if this makes new lows, that negates the div here, right? So I'm not bullish on this at all. And MATIC USD kind of has an M double top there below the 8-hour cloud. So that also has a bearish lean to it. Atom, just kind of middle of the road, right? There's nothing obvious about this, nothing strong about this. Atom BTC also If you're a range player, which I'm not, but if you are, again, massive TKC clamp, TK disequilibrium here. One trade could be, well, I'm going to buy anything in this range and anything lower, right? That could be a trade with the assumption that at the very least, this moves back to 50% of the range. And best case, you get top of the range. I don't think that's smart, but I can see an argument for that trade. Uni coming to the top of its triangle here that I have on the higher time frames. Again, on the 8 hour, nothing, just kind of middle of the road, non-exciting type of stuff going on here with Uni. And on the BTC pair, it looks like it wants new lows. That's what it looks like. Does not look happy at all at those levels. Then you have charts like this, where this is an all-time high for INJ. It's in price discovery. And people get nervous. They would, it's funny. They'd rather hold charts that look like this on the BTC pair. And anytime they pull this up, this is some people, not all people. They just can't think about anything other than where do I sell this? Where do I sell this? I would just hold this. I would hold this for a year. If you're nervous, sell half of it, hold the rest for a year, right? Like you don't have to be all in, all out. You can shave the position every 10% DCA out, right? You don't have to do anything. But if you want to do something, I would dial back on the obsession of I need to sell everything. I need to sell everything. Just let it do its thing. It's doing its thing, right? I don't know why it's doing its thing, but it's doing its thing. Will these have some sort of massive mega pullback? Sure. But you think your upside on charts that look like that are considerable still. Monero on the 8 hour, maybe some sort of messy inverted head and shoulders, but on the BTC pair, again, it does not look happy. This is an inverted Adam Eve. Okay. Very ugly for Monero BTC. Yes, it's far below the Tenkin. It's got a TK disequilibrium. Maybe you're hoping for a triple bottom here. I don't know. In the moment, does not look good for Monero BTC. Near on the USD chart, I zoomed way out because I couldn't get a great read on the 8 hour. Looks fine. Again, what do you do with this? I don't think there's anything to do. Maybe this morphs into a triple bottom over the next 6 months. Maybe it keeps going. I don't know. I personally wouldn't touch this. I would just let it go, right? Near BTC also looks good. It looks like it's bottom and it's ready to mean revert somewhere to 10,000 sats, thereabouts. So it looks okay. It certainly looks better than some of these charts. ETC, my own personal hate bag. Some people buy crypto because they tell themselves if it goes to $1 million and they didn't buy it, they're going to be really upset. I feel the same way with ETC. If ETC goes to 100 and I didn't buy it at 20, I'm going to be very upset. So this is just one of my year-long holds here. And similar to Doge, where this thing loves to just dive against the BTC pair and then have a couple weeks of recovery. I think we could see that with ETC once people start to rotate around a little bit. Coin has no reason to exist. You should not trade that coin. I'm a fool. I get it. But I like the chart. Apt on the 8 hour looks fine. Kind of head and shoulders-y there. Doesn't look horrible. On the BTC pair, however, it's pretty much been down only over the past year, trying to bottom. Maybe an Adam and Eve down here. I would continue to watch this and monitor the lows, because if it does make a new lower low, a new all-time low, I don't think that's something anybody wants to necessarily be sitting in, but it looks like it's trying to come to some sort of bullish breakout there on the BTC side. TIA, to me, is a bit mixed. This is a 4 hour because there's not a lot of data for this. Both BTC and USD charts, is this a double bottom? Is this a Kijun bounce versus is this kind of head and shoulders-y, right? If this is truly going to be the next L1 of the cycle, what does it matter, right? Buy this all the way to zero if you're convicted and you think this is going to go up. It doesn't really matter. You've got time on your side. Just know that some VCs got in here at 50 cents on the dollar. So my guess is anytime those unlocks hit, they will be unlocking them and they will be selling them. At least the smart ones will be. Render looks really good on the 8 hour. Just continuous textbook bullish cloud. And on the BTC pair looks great, right? Like, you've got people holding ETC and EOS and Zcash versus charts that look like this where they're at the highs. You're going to have a better time with your life if you're holding charts like this over dinosaurs with tons of baggage. A little bit of self-talk there, but this chart looks great. Looks like it wants continuation. Sure, you might get a pullback. Maybe it's Gonna morph into a cup and handle, but looks fine. Looks really good. AVE looks okay. You know, it's kind of struggled to hold above 100. Just kind of messy on trend. AVE BTC doesn't look so happy. Looks like it's ready to stay in this downward channel. So definitely one of the weaker charts on the weaker side. SNX kind of the same. You're getting an 8-hour TK cross on the bear side with a price inside the cloud. So if I was trading this on low time frames, I would be out, but I'm not. I'm just going to hold this for the next year, see what happens. SNX BTC also trying to decide double bottom, mean reversion, falling wedge is over, that type of thing. Looks okay. You know, looks stronger than AVE. BONK on the 4-hour has looked great, sadly. And it's trying to lose the cloud, probably for the first time since the breakout. So it'll be interesting to see if the people who loaded up on BONK panic, sell, or how hard does this dump, right? When people try to get out and realize they're trapped or they can't actually close the position because there's no liquidity. Just something to think about. But if this retakes the 4-hour cloud, sure. Could go for another leg. In the moment, though, to me, that leans bearish. SUI on the 8-hour looks okay, right? You know, it's not crushing below the cloud. This is what I like about the cloud. Forward tested, back tested. The moment it got above the cloud, that was the moment, right? This entire time, it was below the cloud. Then in November, October, that was it, right? This is why I like these settings. You got to know which time frames to look for at the end of the day on some of this alt stuff because there's not a lot of data, but looks great. Kind of looks rangy up here, but looks so fine. Looks fine overall. ZRX on the USD pair, to me, looks like it's hit its Adam and Eve target. So maybe you're hoping for edge to edge, probably to $1. You know, maybe a little less than a 3x from here. BTC pair does not look happy. Kind of the classic, again, like down for 3 years, up for a week, down for another 3 years, you know. So you're either hoping for a continuation post-halving, I guess, or you just rotate out of that thing. FTM bounced on the range low, which is good. It is above the 3-day cloud for the first time since the top in 2021. So to me, this looks good. Some sort of weird W curve thing. I don't know what's going on here, but cloud likes it, trend likes it. Looks okay. I don't hate it compared to a lot of this other stuff. Fetch AI on the 3-day also looks really good. It had this inverted head and shoulders fractal in 2019, 2020 that broke out. And now it looks like it has a mega inverted head and shoulders fractal that should lead to all-time highs, I suspect. You know, this would be what, a 2x plus from here? Looks fine. Had a really nice triple bottom down here before the breakout. So to me, it looks good for more throughout the cycle. Gal, kind of the same thing, right? Again, boom, 2 seconds this should take you. Is this an Adam and Eve? Yeah, okay, yeah, sure. What else is there to say? Again, it's been down only. It's starting to get above the cloud. Will it fail at 240? I don't know. Will it reverse here? I don't know. But the cloud is telling you now is a better opportunity than previously for bullish continuation. Kanto came to the top of the range, pulling back. Looks okay. There's some sort of megaphone here, which probably breaks down. Usually the rising patterns break down. I don't really have anything else to say. On trend, it looks okay, but on the range, I'd be careful not to get trapped. Now, if this reconsolidates towards the range highs with trend on its side, looks good, but otherwise I'd be careful holding on to that one. AR USD, don't know what this is. These are user requests, user submissions, by the way, not my coins. Looks fine. Looks like it's trying to get above the 3-day cloud for the first time basically ever. Looks okay. I don't have anything else to say there. And LRC, this one's a dinosaur. I think I have some of this in an old ETH wallet. Wasn't it it was like a fork or an airdrop? I forget which. Looks okay. You get a lot of this stuff trying to get above the 3-day cloud. Kind of Adam Evie, kind of inverted head and shoulders-y at the bottom. So if you're a believer, you know, I would just hold this and wait because it looks fine. So overall, some mixed bag stuff. Nothing's like frankly bearish, like directly, obviously bearish, other than the BTC pairs. USD stuff looks pretty good. And just hope King Corn keeps chugging along there at 42 to 48. That's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe. And happy trading.